that didn't work. Hello there, I'm David Bradley, aka Schizophreniforms, and this is just a brief self-indulgent video based on a piece of writing that I did the other day. I'm just going to read it, and then if I feel so inclined I will elaborate on it whilst I'm reading it, because it's an interesting thing, because as is mentioned in one of the videos in my podcast series that I'm doing, recently I basically accidentally nearly topped myself by taking a lethal dose of a particular substance called GBR, and this is my reaction to that in the anger I felt towards myself, but also towards the reasons why I was using recreational substances in the first place. So I'm just going to just read, see how I feel about it, and then if I think of anything to add. But it's basically like almost like prose poetry, so just bear with me. The greatest lie I have ever been told is that I am broken. Why do I still, after suffering one of the worst mental illnesses possible for over 30 years, to access a higher state of awareness? I want to know God. My greatest desire is to be worthy of heaven or nirvana, to access my highest spiritual potential. I can't sleep at night because I'm searching for answers to questions that most people never ask. Or more correctly, are never made to ask. It's never even presented to them to ask these questions. For example, what is the purpose of my existence? Why do I see spirits, energy, and hear telepathic communications from an external being with the power to alter all of the behaviour of everyone around me based on what it wants me to think or perceive? Why? Obviously this explains why, that previous statement explains why, but why do people think I'm crazy? Why don't people have conscious awareness of the same psychic and spiritual phenomena that I do? Am I special? Is there any value to my existence if I cannot safely and healthily navigate these experiences? And especially if I can't talk to other people about them. If I can't explain to someone rationally what it feels like for me to feel like I'm in heaven or hell, how am I supposed to be considered sane? Why do people react to the spiritual and psychic phenomena I do, yet come up with incredibly long, elaborate, seemingly inane, inaccurate, long explanations for their reactions that they're convinced are true, yet in my perception I can see clearly that without imagination being involved, they're reacting to the same energy and emotions and thoughts rather than simple that I am, rather than normal, simple sensory data, or what they claim to be experiencing. I've been told so much bullshit and lies and delusional things about what my life and experiences mean, either by doctors or hippies, sane or insane, intelligent, naive. It all just seems like bullshit. If someone else doesn't have the mental or indeed spiritual capacity to have the same perceptions as me, and I'm not saying that necessarily I do, but does that make me crazy? And further, even if my perceptions are a result of mental illness and serve no function or purpose to anyone else, does that dictate that I should automatically also dismiss this incredible source of insight, wisdom, love, compassion, and inner strength? I'm talking about my experience of the divine here, rather than the negative experiences I have, which I also do have. Just because it makes people without the capacity to experience it uncomfortable, should I suppress that? Part of me thinks, fuck the doctors and the hippies, the sane and the insane, the intelligent and the naive, and just grow anyway. Where has it really gotten me to, listening to other people's ideas on how I should interpret and understand things they have no experience of? Granted, that doesn't apply to everyone. So far, it's got me addicted to drugs, obsessed with distractions, consumed by addictions to consumption and avoidance in general. Suffice it to say, everything I've been told, every bit of advice supposedly given by experts and spiritual people alike, has left me with a hollow, unfulfilling life in most of the ways that I feel are important. I was angry when I wrote this. I have still, in spite of this, found myself living a peaceful life of love and found ways to find fulfillment that aren't able to be influenced by others or detracted from by the experiences I have. The truth is, I think that people, when they hear things like, I can hear people's thoughts, or I had a vision of a demon that I telepathically destroyed using the power of God and my own will to be the master of my own experiences, they have the following reactions. They either think I'm insane, they ask me for evidence, Then when they hear my evidence, they might become scared that it might be real and try to shut down the dialogue, or that I might be insane and try to shut down the dialogue. Or others believe me, and then they correlate why they're equal in development or experience despite not having the experiences themselves, or become afraid that I'm somehow controlling them, or that they will go insane, or indeed tell me the things that they've experienced once or twice that's vaguely reminiscent of what I described. And then that correlate that with my experience. Again, angry when I wrote this. The general response is fear. They're not interested in how I develop these abilities or the potential for the responsible and benevolent use of them. They just want me to stop having the experience. Which leads me to, again, angry when I wrote this, leads me to a few ideas of why. A, it makes me powerful. Arguable. B, it makes me dangerous. Less arguable. C, it gives me control. I can see why people would be afraid of that. D, it makes them not powerful, dangerous, or in control. I'm quite sure they have their reasons to be skeptical or afraid. What if it was true? What would that mean for their entire understanding of how reality works? If, for example, through my connection to other dimensions of reality and divinity itself, I did in fact have these powers, and was in some way more spiritually developed or attuned to extrasensory perceptions than most people, and I've argued all the time that people can have these experiences, it's not just me, but the fact I naturally do, what does that mean for the collective perception that these things aren't possible? Arguably, given enough time and evidence and serious research and falsification and proving that this was the case, if it turned out to be the case, which I'm not saying it is, it might destroy the current status of society. The very notion of anyone having a direct perception of other realities would require a total overhaul of societal value. People might, for example, again, I am schizophrenic, but people might elevate me to the status of a divine conduit and seek my advice or guidance, given this information being correct. That might be the reaction of society. It wouldn't just be vilification. They would want to know what was out there. That's my rationality of it. But that will never happen, because people fear what they can't control, and people fear the unknown. And that's why I'm locked in this chemical prison. That is why the very thought of being insane drives me to blunt my highly evolved and attuned abilities and understandings, if I do indeed have them. Because I couldn't explain to people what it felt like on their terms. They locked me up, and I even volunteered to be locked up. And I'm still locked up today, only now they don't need walls or to pin me down and threaten to physically abuse me if I don't take the medications they're trying to force on me. Which I accepted voluntarily, and they do have their role and purpose in my life, and I willingly still value them to this day. But now I'm the one guarding the gate. They've taught me through my own fear that I must imprison myself. The abusers have programmed the abuse into me, and now I can never escape because I'm the one locking myself in. And that's what I wrote. I was agitated, I was stressed, but it felt true to me at the time. It felt true, like. And in the other videos I've done, in the reframing it that I talk about in the transversal verbal synthetic communication video, the part 1 is like, these things didn't need to happen to me, and I'm responsible for them because it's my life. But the society that generated this reaction and fear and so on and so forth, it makes me upset. It makes me angry. And I'm the first person to say that I could not really be experiencing any of this, and that all of this vainglorious God notion of that I've evolved is probably bollocks. But if it's not, what does that say about modern society? Like I've seen people in videos on the internet, and I've even been in the presence of people on occasion that claim to have had some form of spiritual awakening. That some form of divine ability. Like, these people aren't considered dangerous. They're not incarcerated. Like, some of them have whole organizations built around their insight and wisdom. And I think by reframing those experiences, by not allowing people to just simply be junked and thrown away, I wouldn't... How can I say this? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, basically. Even if I'm the only one experiencing these things and they're not tangibly real, no basis in in reality. Why should I fear them? Why should I allow them to persecute me? Why should I allow them to plague my every waking moment? And the answer is I shouldn't. And if you feel this way, feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to add your own thing. If you think I'm mental, again, I would welcome that insight, because I feel lost a lot of the time. Like, I feel unstable sometimes. I feel like I need someone external to fix it. But the whole consensus of this, and why I do these videos, and why I'm trying to make this podcast series and all this other stuff, is because I'm trying to fix myself. And as the opening line of the writing said, it's like, the greatest lie I've ever been told is that I'm broken. Like, the notion that I'm fundamentally wrong, and that my perception is fundamentally wrong, and that there is nothing of value to me because I'm broken. I'm to be discarded. I am the waste of humanity. That is what it instills in me. That's how I feel. That's how I react when people treat me this way. And it enrages me just as much the other way around, when people say, oh, you collude with what I believe as well. Like, I've reached a point where, like, this is why I want to do it. This is why I want to make these videos. This is why I want to develop myself as an individual and try, if it's even possible, to either recover from these experiences permanently or to master them. I want to be the master. I want to be the God's honest truth, best schizophrenic on the planet. And I hope that's inspiring and not just weird and disturbing to hear. But that'll do. I just wanted to read it anyway. So thank you for listening if you do have in fact watched this, and peace.